I'm Leanne Tran, psychologist who's worked with families whose kids don't fit the mould for almost 20 years. I've worked with children for decades, but I know parents are the real change makers when it comes to their kids. Having 3 kids of my own means I know it's not easy. Parent Like a Psychologist is all about simplifying how you support your kids with psychology information filtered through years of experience to take you from overwhelmed to confident. Come on in. Welcome to another episode of Parent Like a Psychologist. So excited for you to join me, and I really hope that you're getting something out of the podcast. As I was looking at the topics I've covered previously, just now I noticed there were 4,000 downloads of the podcast, which I'm hoping means there is positive impact flowing to all of you families. Just then, my dog's just bounded in with a ball to celebrate. There you go. She's made the YouTube clip if you are watching on YouTube. Oh my goodness, isn't life just such a challenge sometimes with all of our children and pets and everything going on while we're trying to also run our lives and pay for food and make the food and everything else. So funny, after all of that excitement of dogs and celebrations, today's topic is a boring one. I have, I mean, it's boring, but it's really useful. And it's been on my list for a little while, but I don't know, it's just never really been that exciting to me. But I think that's what parents feel about this topic as well. And so I'm talking today about routines and why they are important. So it's creating calm through routines. It's my psychologist's guide for that. But I just don't feel like it's an exciting topic. Um, but the thing about, I guess that's the thing about routines is that they can be boring. But I was walking the other day and realized I had this revelation that sometimes the best things for us are boring. I have this friend, uh, Tammy, who's a wonderful OT, and she talks about boring self care. And to her, she says self care is not always bubble baths and, going out for coffee. Sometimes it's boring, like getting an early night, making a healthy meal, making the bed. Sometimes that self care is boring. And that's what I was thinking about as I was going for a walk, and have been had more of a focus on my health lately. And I thought, there's like we can look for new advice, but really for health, the advice is the same. It's to keep track of what you're eating, make sure that it's healthy and like lots of things in moderation, but essentially make sure it's healthy and you're not eating too much. And it's about movement as well. And you can get lots of different advice from lots of different people who have a different spin on it. But really, that's what it boils down to. And sure, it's important to make sure that the things you're trying to eat and the movement you're trying to do fits with you and your lifestyle and all of that kind of thing. But it's the same advice. And I feel like having a routine really fits into that category. It's not particularly exciting, it's not groundbreaking, it's just the same old stuff that we know, um, and it's doing it consistently. Consistency is often the key when we're talking about healthy eating and movement, and it's the same when we're trying to put a routine in place for our kids as well. It's, just just sticking relentlessly day in, day out to what we know works for them, and there's not a lot of excitement in that, but there is a lot of comfort and stress reduction for our kids. So I want to talk today about the science behind routines and why they work, how to make an effective routine, and then how you can try and put some of the change in without resistance. It's also topical because we in Brisbane recently had Cyclone Alfred come along, and what I observed with my children, even myself, so the whole family really, was that there was this kind of sense of unease. and this funny feeling. And a couple of times, one or more of my kids and I myself said, it's because everything's just not quite right. Everything's out of whack. There wasn't school. Um, we didn't have power. We couldn't go outside because it was rainy. And so everyone just felt a bit off. And that made me think about when there isn't routine as well. And Cyclone Alfred was a great example, I think, because it, it we I mean, because there was the cyclone coming, we all had this impending feeling of something scary coming up. But sometimes neurodivergent kids feel that way by not knowing what's going to happen as well. And so that feeling I had and my kids had about that anxiety because, something unexpected is looming is one that's not very different to how neurodivergent kids feel a lot of the time when they don't know what's going to happen. Um, and so that's why that leads into the science behind why routines work. And the first one is that predictability reduces stress. And so routines, I often say, communicate the boundaries and their communication about what's going to happen. Routines create a sense of safety through the predictability that it offers our kids and kids with ADHD kids, autistic kids, anxious kids, they all struggle a little bit more with that unpredictability. So really putting this in place is a measure that can help reduce anxiety, reduces stress. Um, the other thing is that it can have benefits on kids' behavior as well. So the more consistent your routine is, the more kids learn the expectations. Um, and then it helps reduce things like meltdowns and improves cooperation because kids understand and they know what's going to happen. Um, and the other thing too is it helps them remember. So when these routines are presented visually, kids don't have to remember what's going to happen. And the more we can reduce that brain load for them, that reduces their stress as well. So kids are more likely to feel calm and they're more likely to be able to do what we're asking of them because the expectations are clear and routine and predictable. There's two essential elements really for effective routines. No, there's not. There's probably these are just two ways to help in the beginning. And so the first one is about picking where to start, and the second one is how to communicate with kids, which is through visual information. Um, the I think it's important advice to not try and start everything all at once. One change enough at a time is enough, sorry. And so that means if you're looking at one area of your life to implement a routine for, then you're doing great. One a week. But if your kids struggle with that and struggle with change, one a month could be enough. Um, so pick some key routines to start with, and it could be the routine to follow in the morning. It could be after school routine, mealtime routine, or bedtime routine. And if you add on top of these as you go and eventually have a routine for most of these things, it's going to set you up for a lot of success and reduce everybody's mental load as any parent or mother in particular relate to that mental load, it's stressful. So the more you can reduce it for everybody, the better. It means you're not making decisions then about, or when will we do that this evening, or what do you want to do before bed tonight? Because it's already there and communicated, so you can just focus on getting it done. Um, Visual schedules is the next key. I think presenting things visually is really important, particularly for little kids, particularly for autistic kids and ADHD kids. And the reason is those kids, actually anxious kids as well, they all struggle with executive functioning, which means getting stuff done in the moment. It means kids with those challenges can know what to do, but actually executing the task, getting it done to completion is the difficult part. So the more that you can make your routines visual, the less it relies on your kids being able to remember the steps. That's an executive function. It also reduces the demand on their, oh, what was I going to say? No, I said that. The memory is the executive function. Oh, it reduces the demand on you as a parent because if your kids forget the steps, they're not asking you about it, they're looking back to the schedule. Um, so, for kids with anxiety, autism, ADHD, or even low verbal, um, you know, skills, so maybe they find understanding language hard, the more you can use pictures as part of the routine, the better. Um, then, how to implement these things without resistance. I think I mean, maybe we always will get a little bit of resistance, but that's okay. Just kind of roll with it. You can problem solve the resistance together with your kids. And I think it doesn't mean it's a reason not to do it, but it's a reason to persist. But it might also be a reason to talk to somebody who can help with this stuff, whether it's an OT, speech pathologist, or psychologist. We have a whole section on visual routines in chaos to calm because what I find really valuable is to be able to help parents implement this stuff, but then also tweak it and problem solve it and work through any issues that you might have because sometimes there's a quick fix or change that might make it work for you. So seek some help if it's not quite working out. But the two ideas I wanted to talk about here were involving your kid. That's the biggest one to start with, and I think you can talk to them about the steps that are necessary and what order they would like to do the steps if they have a preference for that. There might be some choice in the matter. So, for example, you may choose when the bath and showering gets done. Is it morning? Is it evening? You can choose to do things that work well for your child. Another example might be homework. Lots of ADHDers might find it easier to do the homework in the morning before school rather than after school when they're just really tired. So talk to your kid, make some decisions, and then say, look, let's try this for a week, and then we'll have another meeting and review it. You can have a meeting and say, how did it go? What worked well? What didn't work well? What do we need to change? So really involving your child is a great way to give them some ownership over it, but also you get invaluable feedback about why things are working or not working. And then the second idea is about transition strategies. So this is about trying to implement the routine, sorry, but slowly. So how can you do things that will help you introduce change at a level that kids can easily manage? That's kind of referring back to what I said before. If you decided you're going to overhaul every routine in the house all at once, it's probably too much for your child, but also for you as well. So, implementing things slowly is a great way to gradually transition into using them. There's some other things you could do as well, like, just sitting down and explaining to your child why you're starting these things, trying to use the approach of doing it together rather than this is a set or a list of jobs that you are handing down to your child like they're your employee, your subordinate, rather than saying, this is a way where we can help each other and you can follow this so that I get ready and I want to stop yelling so much. And so you're trying to talk about how it's going to be helpful for everybody. And then another idea for that is something like social stories or something similar. There's some apps that you can use to create social stories for your kids. And social stories are really about creating a picture book or a story about um, using a strategy in a positive way to illustrate it to the child. You can actually do these things on Chat GPT now. So if you put in there, create a social story about, implementing this, use for, my child named blah, blah, whatever your kid's name is. And then those things then can create some stories for you that you can share with your child. It's a lot easier for kids to see how things work for others than themselves sometimes because of that. Self-awareness is still developing in our kids. So if you can read a story about someone else who's used these things and it worked well, they would be like, oh, okay, that's great, and maybe more likely to give it a try. So, in summary, I guess, this isn't, maybe this isn't the most exciting topic. And particularly if you, as a parent, have ADHD as well, routines can be hard for ADHDers because they are a bit boring. They're predictable. They don't change. They don't offer excitement. Um, but they can be just so, so helpful. And think of it like that boring self care or that continual healthy eating and movement that you just have to do anyway. Um, and yeah, there's science behind why they work. I've talked to you about a couple of ways you can make them effective and how you can try and introduce them slowly so you don't encounter that resistance. Um, Seek help though if it's something you want to talk about more, particularly join me in the Chaos to Calm program. One of the things I talk about in there, actually, which I've forgot to mention now, is that sometimes it's a reward or a little dopamine hit for kids who aren't that motivated or parents who aren't as well. That might help. So maybe you put a little bit of a reward at the end of the routine, whether it's that you do all the morning steps and then you get to play a game or something like that. So have a go at it. Let me know if you've got any questions. Instagram is a great way to get in touch, direct message, or you can comment on one of the videos, and I would love to share if I have a tip that would help you and obviously lots of other families as well, or shoot me an email at hello@leannetran.com.au. But from now until next time, my wish for you was that you engage in some pretty boring routine stuff, and we will get back to some more fun suggestions next time. Thanks for joining again. Thanks for listening to this episode of Parent Like a Psychologist. If you found it helpful, please share on Instagram so other parents can benefit too, and tag me at Leanne Tran Psychology so that I can say a big thank you. Head over to leannetran.com.au to join the village for bite-sized psychology tips straight to your inbox. I really hope this podcast has brought a new perspective and you a step closer towards a calm parent and a thriving child. Have a delightful day.